All right. Hello, everyone. This is take 3 of trying to record this episode. So, for those of you unsure, essentially what I'm doing now is, rather than do full long plays of games, that's becoming kind of an arduous process, and I think I think that should be saved for special titles. What I've decided to do here is, I think every week I'll just kind of sit down with the game for maybe a half hour or so and just take a look at it and maybe share my story or my experience with the game, and just have some fun playing games. So I'm calling this series, obviously it's Let Us Play, but I'm calling it Extended Play, like you would with a album or even with the VHS tape. Extended Play was longer than a single, but not quite an album. That's kind of what we're going for. So, starting off today with Ninja Gaiden. Already at the end of the first level here. So I have this little spinny tornado thing. Makes him very easy. I haven't quite mastered it without taking a hit, but makes him a lot easier. Some story here. So this is, I don't know if this is the first game to feature this kind of like cutscene. I certainly think it's probably one of the first, maybe only on the NES, to have this level of storytelling in it. So I guess the reason why I picked this game is, I grew up with an NES, and I probably had maybe a dozen games for it. And that was pretty much it. Like, I did get, obviously, when I moved down to the N64 and stuff like that, but as far as my NES library goes, pretty much stayed at about a dozen games. A lot of classics. I had Mario, I had Punch-Out, I had Zelda, I had Metroid, I had so on and so forth. I didn't actually ever have Ninja Gaiden, but I had that, and I kind of moved on, went to the N64, went to the PS2, went to the Xbox 360, so on and so forth. And then when I got into my late teens, senior in high school, maybe a little later, college, I started to go back and get interested in retro gaming again, interested in my NES. And the odd thing to me was that, I started to get interested in games that I hadn't played as a kid, so a lot of times when you think about retro gaming, you think about, it's people wanting to go back and revisit stuff from their childhood, and a lot of times that is true. But this was one of the first examples where that wasn't the case for me. I was actually legitimately interested in games that I hadn't experienced, and finding new experiences on this old hardware. I'd heard of Ninja Gaiden, and I was most interested in it because I'd heard about its difficulty, and I thought, well, I'll see if that's really true or not, and it gets the reputation for a good reason. But it just this game really marks the first time when I was really trying to experience more of retro gaming than just the stuff I played as a kid. So it marks, I guess, a broadening of my horizons in that arena. Obviously an excellent game. This game is also somewhat notable for me in that, obviously playing games from more modern generations, and the way games are designed and all that, I never went on to play any of the sequels because I'd never finished this game. Now, I don't think that that's how we might play more modern stuff, but, you know, for an NES game, it's not necessarily, you might hear my dog there, that's not necessarily a requirement. You know, these games from these generations are, you know, beating them is an accomplishment, not an inevitability, and that isn't an indictment on modern gaming at all. It's just that, you know, with limited hardware and battling, you know, rental stores, games had to be more difficult, and beating them was an accomplishment. I think I missed a pop-up to make that part really easy. So here we are, playing Ninja Gaiden. Came out, the title screen is to be believed 1989. I was born in 1990, so this game is a year older. I've never struggled with that spot before. That's so weird. It's weird when I go back and play some of these games and remember certain spots as being really difficult. I breeze right by them, but then other spots, and I'm like, oh, that's easy, yeah. And it takes me like 8 tries to get through it. So this game and Castlevania both feature, as you've probably already seen a little bit, knockback, which means when you get hit, and, you know, in a lot of games when you get hit, you know, your character might flash and or flicker a little bit, and you get maybe a couple of invincibility frames to kind of get out of the trouble. This game doesn't feature that. In fact, if you take a hit, not only do you take the hit, it takes damage. But you also get knocked back, so you get, you know, kind of a punishment there. Can't die. And a lot of times I hear people criticize this, both in this game and in Castlevania. And I just want to put my name in the ring as someone who would defend that mechanic, you know, the knockback. There's a little square cut out of his head there. I defend it because one thing that I like about these games is that, you know, in order to get over different obstacles and excuse me, and and beat the level, you know, the developers put a series of obstacles in the way for you to overcome. And in other games, you know, if there's something that's particularly difficult or something that you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this, you can kind of just like run through it, take a couple of hits, and I got something in my throat, excuse me. You can kind of just plow your way through it by just being like, oh, I'll just take a hit and be fine. But I like these games in the knockback because it forces you to engage with whatever it is the developer's trying to get you to do. If they're trying to get you to do a certain series of jumps or battle a certain whatever, you can't just skip by it. You have to actually, you know, beat the challenge. So I think it's pretty cool in that way. Obviously in a game like Castlevania, you also have kind of stiff movement coupled with knockbacks, so that game can get really tricky, but this game feels surprisingly good. I'd be interested to know, because they're mentioning Shinobi here. I'm really sorry, I got something in my throat or something. That's really weird. I promise you I'm not going to die on, well, I'm not on camera, but I guess die on microphone. But I'm wondering if Shinobi is like a character in like Japanese lore. Like if there's some sort of a, I wouldn't say like a religion, but maybe a legend of someone named Shinobi. I don't know. I'm interested because obviously Shinobi is a character in a series of video games on their own. It might have been on this time. It would have been on the Master System, I think. But I'm just curious. I wonder if there's more to that name than just a video game, or if they're just referencing another video game. Could be. It'd be like, Shinobi couldn't beat this guy, but you can, because you're better than Sega. This is the first level we see the Eagles. interesting... Oh. That wasn't good. So interesting thing about this game, too, if you play Castlevania, and there are a lot of similarities that I might talk about a little later, but, you know, in Castlevania, you take out, like, lanterns on the wall, and those, like, when you break them, they drop items. This game has the same motif, or the same idea. The only thing is, oh, that was a really crappy section. This is really fun. Wow. Hold on. Wow, that was rough. But interesting thing here that that's a hell there. You know, not just taking down lanterns, I'm actually, you know, killing birds out of the sky. There's just birds sitting there. Want me to kill them? I'll kill them. All these birds. All you Parks and Rec fans out there. What is happening right now? I'm not doing well. I think that's the other thing about this game, is that, like, it's not like something will just brush by and hit you and, oh, that was tough, but, you know, I survived it. Like, stuff in this game does not, like, this game can be pretty relentless. That's because I'm not using the actual NES controller. So, interesting point of note, I'm not playing on an actual NES right now. I'm actually playing on something called the Retro USB AVS, which is a clone system. But it's one of the best on the market. So if you're interested in buying an NES, I highly recommend it because, first of all, it's HDMI, right? And there are a lot of HDMI NESs out there, so that's not necessarily a new thing. Oh, see, that the knockback would have actually helped me, but it killed me. But it's HDMI, but it's built off something called an FPGA, which is a field programmable gate array, I think it is. Essentially, it's a circuit board that is programmed and designed to mimic whatever hardware you're trying to mimic. So it's much more accurate than, say, if you're interested in like the Retron 5, that software emulation, that system is basically just an Android system filled with software emulators. And when you put in your game, it just takes the ROM off the cartridge and then just plays it through an emulator. This actually emulates more at a hardware level, which means it's a little more accurate, but also it's a lot more compatible with the NES library. So, highly recommend it. But I'm using that, and I have a controller I'm using is actually a wireless controller. It's by 8-Bit Do. I want to say 8-Bit Do. That feels weird. This is the SN30 gamepad, so it's a Super Nintendo wireless gamepad that you can get receivers for different consoles. So I actually have a little receiver for my NES phone here. And it's a pretty sweet little controller. It comes in like 5 different colors, all that look pretty cool. The tricky thing is you want to get over like real close so that you can get to the bottom 2 bullet things that he throws out. But his hitbox is a little hard to know exactly where. It's hard to know exactly where his actual hitbox is, so that gets a little tricky. But they released 3 of these games on the Nintendo. I have the first one, which is this one here. There's also Ninja Gaiden 2, the something sword or something, I forget what the subtitle is. I've played a little bit of that one, but I really haven't spent a lot of time with it. It seems to have a good reputation. I mean, it's going to be a bad game, but I have that weird complex where I have to finish this one before I go to that one. And they made a third game. I think it's called The Ancient Ship of Doom For whatever reason, I don't know why this is. I don't know if it got released at the end of the NES life cycle and only a few copies were made, or I don't know what, but that game is really expensive. Like, you could pick up probably Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 for like, I don't know, maybe like $10 to $15 each. Like, they're not pricey games. I think I probably spent about $8 on each one. But for some reason, that third one is like hundreds of dollars. It is available on the 3DS Virtual Console, if you have that. I do. I'm not sure if it's probably not available on the Switch yet. I'm not sure how they're managing their NES game. I don't have a Switch. I'd like one, but I also have like a million consoles and games already, so I'm kind of like, well, do I really need to add another console in this mix? It's really the plight of the... Well, it's not even the plight of the gamer, because everyone goes through that sort of thing. Who am I trying to believe this? I really like the fact that in this game, I mean, there's a lot of traps. Like this little section here is actually a bit of a trap. If you try to jump off that ledge and go for that bird, that other bird will come down and get you, but if you go down. But one of the things I do really like about this game is how there is kind of a strategy. Not even that there's a strategy. It's that, you know, it all seems really difficult at first, but it's basically pattern recognition. So, you know, if you calm your mind a little bit, once, you know, just take a look, think about things, you usually find that pretty easily. That was just what I was gonna say. We got this. Mr. Thick Thighs here. Look at that. So I doubt we'll get to the end of the game in this playthrough. We should get pretty far though. We're about halfway through the game, I think, at this point. Maybe a little more than that. I think there's 6 acts, and I'm finishing up the third one now. So. The benefit of this retro USB AVS, they're not sponsoring this video in any way. I'm just a big fan, but it plays NES games, as we can see here, but it does also have a Famicom slot that plays Famicom games. If you're interested in that sort of thing, I actually really want to pick up the Famicom version of Castlevania 3 because the hardware in the cartridge is a little more advanced and actually has like more sound channels, so the music in it is really like, you know, fist pumping, get you rocking. It's really good. So, plus the game itself is a little more balanced, I guess you would say. This feels very Enter the Dragon. If you've ever seen that movie. And I'm gonna say something right now. I don't know why the side of the screen is a little messed up there. That's weird. I'm gonna tell you something right now. Enter the Dragon is an overrated movie. Very overrated. I've watched pretty much all of Bruce Lee's movies, except the only one I haven't seen is Game of Death, I think. And I haven't seen the ones he did back in. Is he from China or is he from like Taiwan? I don't remember where he did some other movies. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I think he's from China, but and I remember watching Enter the Dragon and like, so Enter the Dragon has like 2 good fight scenes that are in like the competition. And then there's like that scene at the end in the mirror room. That one's pretty cool. But the rest of the movie just isn't that interesting in my opinion. I mean, it's a James Bond ripoff, and it's a 70s James Bond ripoff. So it's not even like the good James Bond movies. Another hot take, Roger Moore is the worst of the James Bonds. Just gonna throw that out there. But yeah, it's, you know, watch like Fist of Fury or Return of the Dragon. And that one, there's a really cool alleyway fight with some nunchucks, and the climactic fight with, it takes place in Italy, and it's the climactic fight with Chuck Norris in the Coliseum. So, highly recommend it. But anyway, Ninja Gaiden. So, when a black moon shines, light and dark break apart, the king of darkness howls. Should get that tattooed on me. It's kind of funny to think, like, you know, Ryu is a ninja, and we all think of ninjas as like the most hardcore, like, assassins and stuff, but the fact that like a couple of dudes in suits with some guns, and Ryu's like, this whole game is kind of like that scene in Raiders where the ninja dude jumps out with the sword and he just shoots him. Like, Ryu just gets undone by guns throughout this entire game. Of course, you will be paid for the work. Great Blade Runner. Now we've stepped into a Contra game. Hey, you also don't really think about ninjas jumping out of like helicopters. Alright. It's a little bit of a trap. First off, we're killing spiders, that's gross. I almost fell for the trap right there. So if you don't get onto that other platform quick enough to take out the guy with the gun, excuse me, that section becomes very difficult. Probably something really good like an extra life, but I'm not going for it. This is a really fun part. Wow, I'm having trouble. I think that's the end of the level. Yeah. Okay. Sort of scummed through that one. This game really starts to trap. Oh no. Oh. Go away. Wow. it for me. Let's see what's up here. Orange blob. I'm not sure what that does. I know Ninja Gaiden 2 gave you the ability to actually walk up, not walk, but like crawl up and down walls. Like you're Spider-Man, so you don't have to like do that with like this little bit, so you like go back and forth. I'm not really good at. The only real big issue with knockback I have in this game is the fact that like your position, how far you've advanced the screen determines when enemies spawn. So if you get, you know, if the screen gets caught like at the right spot, enemies will spawn infinitely. And so, because these platforms are all angled, sometimes actually judging your jump can be a little tricky. Love that power up. This is a pretty tough one here. So find this. All right, making progress here. Whirly characters. This is one of those games because you have these. This is a boss fight. This is one of those games that, you have a depletable resource because you're magic. So I try to only use it like in emergencies and really save it. And it kind of stinks because, a lot of times I find in games like this, they put certain, especially in this game, they give you certain items at certain times because it makes certain sections a lot easier. Like you noticed before, I had that little, I don't know what you call it, it's like that fireball that goes up, and that really helped me fight that little dragon above the platform. Oh, got him. Interesting, I've never done it that way, where you kind of get them both at the same time. You might hear my dog outside barking right now. She likes to go out and bark at squirrels. You don't see that much in film, where it's like it just shows like a little square of the screen and then it just like reveals a little bit to show the guy with the knife. You don't see that very much. Number 2. What is that little goblin thingy? Almost reminds me of that thing from Doctor Who, even though he was a good guy, I think. He's like, I forgot who he's like the butler guy that's got like the big, his head basically looks like a thumb. And he's always like, he's like this great warrior that always wants to like battle. I don't know his name. foreseeing this to be an issue with this series. Is that, you know, we're coming up on time here, but I'm just really enjoying playing this game. For the burping. So I just kind of like want to. Oh, that was stupid. I just kind of want to keep going, even though I'm not reaching my own personal time limit here. A lot of trouble with that move for some reason. Alright, let's see if we can do a little better than There we go, did it that time. But I was undone by the bat. Alright, so if I jump down here, kind of avoid the eagle. Wow. See, this is a part I never used to have problems with, but now I'm really struggling to get past this one little part. Is there a difference between the white eagle and like the brown? Come on. Stupid. There we go. Alright, we got it. I like, oh, goodness. Somehow that bird didn't hit me. Like, I wonder if like the white one does more damage or something. Because they go away from the brown one pretty quick. It becomes the white, like the white eagle, pretty much for the rest of the game after just the third or whatever level it shows up in. Definitely one of those games you want to keep moving as much as possible. Now, let's see if I can not get it. Oh, well, that works. Over the bat. Go. Yep. Excellent. Oh crap. Alright. Finish the stage. What's 5-2 like? No. It's actually good for this part. I can see it now. Oh, crap. Yep, there we go. But a pretty generous continue system, I'll give you that. The bird, it's fine. Just got my way through that part. Watching the fireballs. I'm not done. I'm not done embarrassing myself. Well, that 5-2, I guess I'm not. hit those enemies both in Ninja Gaiden and Castlevania. Because these two games do share a lot. Share a lot of the same enemies. Help me. No! That was a bad idea. I've always been interested in how that, like, top section is the same in both games. Like, it's identical. That black top corner, or top whatever it is. It's like an upper third instead of a lower third. Fine. Scratch my nose, and we're back. Oh! Alright, I think that's going to do it for the episode. Thank you all for joining me. Hope you like this new format. Obviously, let me know if you have any feedback, any comments, questions, whatever. Feel free to leave a comment. And otherwise,